earlier, we're not experts in that area because it varies from state to state. So what we are working with the jurisdictions on, we're working with a few of them right now, is a model which this industry-wide model, we've been successful in a couple of them, and we're moving towards more and more, where organizations like ASME, MESA, Elevator Industry Work Preservation, Elevator World, Vertical Assessment Associates, etc., would provide elevator and escalator technical education. We'd be able to provide a 17 code, a National Electric Code, and an FPA, all of the national standards. We can develop continuing education and testing of that. Employee safety education out of the elevator industry field, employee safety handbook. Public safety education, seminars, articles. We can do that because it's kind of global, for the nation anyway. But only the authority having jurisdiction can take care of the requirements, the local jurisdiction-specific code requirements, administrative policies and procedures. So we're trying to get them to recognize that and say that it's really a twofold process where the national, if we can call them that, organizations would provide all of this above information, education, and the jurisdictions would provide this, and that the applicant would have to show that they did obtain that full body of continuing education, and that would allow them to obtain their certification requirement, whatever it might be, a license in Michigan or in New York City, in Florida they call it some kind of elevator certified, whatever it might be. So that's kind of the model that we're working towards. As I say, we have been successful in a couple areas. I'm meeting with the state of Florida at the beginning of July. We're going to talk about it, hopefully get them to accept it. And if they do that, it'll be an easy process to move along. So, but that's the direction we're going. And that's really what I have on continuing education. We can open it up for discussion, questions, and take it from there. Okay? Thank you. I don't know what you guys, what's the schedule? Are we till 2:30 today? Seeing as how the officers are not here. Oh, I was just going to authorize a break. I can't do that.
There's a couple things.
Yeah, let's let Dave bring us up to date on stuff, right? Understand all that.
Okay, there's a couple things. John Blatt, Bob Camparelli, and myself were appointed to the Educational Committee, and there's been subcommittees formed after that. Some of those items we're trying to move forward along with the taping of these events where you can take them back to your people and re-educate some of those folks. The code issues are very important. All of us strive to guard the safety of the general public. That's our job, that's our commitment. That's what we're here for, whether you're an administrator or you're an elevator journey person, that's our job. Safety of the general public, anybody that uses that equipment. There's many people in this room that know a great deal more than I. One of the things that when you're talking about the recertification is that you have to pay attention that for NACIA, you're required to keep your documents. It's not you send them to NACIA and they keep them on file for you. It's your responsibility for a period, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years?
2 years.
And so it's your responsibility. Pay attention. Don't ever throw them away, because 10 years from now, the institution that you're working for is going to get sued. And they're going to say, what did you do to promote the safety and the welfare of the general public? Well, you have the documentation already. Save it. Put it on a disk that is transferable and update it as you go along. It's a pain in the wazoo. We all know it. It's another piece of paper to keep. But it's something that you, as an institution, have to look out for, because you're the representative of that university, that institution, whatever it is. So please, pay attention, make sure that you keep all your documentation, put it in a file. If it sits there forever and you never have to use it, God bless. It's a good thing, because then you didn't go into litigation. Go ahead, Don.
If you certify by Mason, I certify by Mason, you download the test, print it out, do the test execution, look up the answers, you go to it, resubmit, go back online, that's where it is, resubmit. I have a copy of every test that I took, and I keep those as well as all the pages. And whatever Mason requires, as an inspector, is documented in this one file. Don't depend on anybody else to get information what they said, because they don't.
That documentation is so important. Bob said I'd go into a little bit on Michigan. Michigan's a little different, and always has been, in the respect that we've been licensed since 1970. Okay, licensing became a law in 1970 in the state of Michigan for an elevator journey person and contractor. In order for the university to maintain its equipment, you must have a valid contractor's license, and you must be the supervising employee. Matt Wright, he carries a Class A contractor's license. I carry a Class A contractor's license. There's many different venues around the country, but basically what it comes down to is they want someone that's accountable for the safety and welfare of the general public. Whether you're an administrator or you're the mechanic working on it, it's our job. It's been my life, and it's been a good life for 38 years, and I know many in this room may surpass that. Jeff, you've got quite a few years in, and Illinois just passed a year and a half ago the requirement for certification to work in the state of Illinois on elevators. Florida, California has certifications. Yes. Every state has been prompted by the Work Preservation Fund to adopt their particular model. Many organizations have fought against that. The big thing is when you're looking at the safety and welfare of the general public, there's no other answer. You have to have qualified, competent people. Now, NAEC has the CPT program, but if you're an individual that is in charge of a campus and you're maintaining the equipment, you can buy it from Elevator World. You don't have to be a member of NAEC. Hey, it's a good thing to be a member of NAEC because you get some other perks along with it, and you have the ability to interact at the conventions as a member in the meetings prior to. You see what's going on. You know, we're getting ready for, and Bob and I and Terry and a couple other folks have talked about what are we presenting next year. We'd like your input as well. I can tell you that, how many of you have heard about Arc Flash? NFPA 70E. It's something that if you're in-house maintenance, you're responsible for. There's a wide gamut of requirements in there, and that's one of the topics we hope to discuss next year. Another thing is Americans with Disabilities Act. It's been around since 1992, and there was precursors to that. But we haven't talked about vertical platform lifts, and when should they be applied on a college campus? Or should a LULA be applied? Okay, some of those things there, while they're not the heavy-duty pieces of equipment that we look at, There are things that Americans with Disabilities Act will hang you because you're not gaining access. I can tell you, Michigan Stadium, not user-friendly. Built 1920, one elevator servicing the press box. Well, we're in the process right now of building skyboxes around the big house, and that's the name of it. 19 new elevators, and none of them service the bowl. Now figure that out. We're making it accessible for the handicapped. We've been in litigation. They've come to some resolve, and the elevator still will not service the bowl, but what they've done is change the seating arrangement to accommodate the physically impaired. So there's ways that we can help them get what they need to do. We have a restroom at the big house, it's a men's restroom. I've got to put a VPL or a Lula in there in order to, for a physically impaired individual to gain access to the men's restroom. So these are all things that every one of us go through on a daily or weekly or yearly basis. And it's things that they make great topics because somebody here is going to go through the same thing that I'm going through at the University of Michigan. So we want your ideas, we want your input. Go to Elevator U or take our emails, and you all have them because they're going to be posted on Elevator U. Everybody that was here, your email address will be there. Interact. Go back and forth with each other. You know, you hear little bits and pieces about what this guy did and what that guy did or that gal did or this individual did. And the point is that we all learn from each other, and that's why we formed this organization, is because we have a lot more to learn, and we go through the same thing day in and day out. And we can only help each other by talking to each other.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Dave. If, what we can do now, I got the official word that we can take a break.